Come the devil.
Wimbo watemenwa katongi abazunga batita katongi nagula kwibukiza kateka kaibukubuna kapona neseko syove pamenso yamwaba umebaya iyaba ume iyaba ume
kateka wabantu iyaba ume twakulira lelo twakulira shikakukonke milimo shove
ale filamba yenaminta pengosile eti kumemo kulondolola vale lilo wingi
iseko wingi mwakwete isaso wingi mwakwete mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
katusi munchi motege wali bomba kale kama mwatu nyatuleli lake mupanga chiba
benda upanga mwine oya mwine ide dalila
yangu ya mama ala nacho mwabye mama
Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. I'm so sorry that we've started very, very late. I am with Reverend Dr. Japhet Ndhlovu today of Canada, of the United Church of Canada. He's an executive minister there. But I have a crisis. We just want to resolve the connections. He's connected and so apparently we can't have volume and we've been struggling for the last 1 hour. We're going to use an orthodox method because Reverend Ndhlovu needs to speak to the country and we had set it as this day, as a day he will speak to the country. And somehow for whatever reason, this broadcast, is just not working. But Honorable Reverend Japhet Ndhlovu is with us here. I've got his video, but I don't have his picture. I don't have his audio. Reverend Ndhlovu, how are you? You'll be speaking through my phone. Let's see if it will work and let's see how we'll fight the echo. Reverend, just speak again. Just greet the nation.
Hello.
Yeah, I know you're very clear.
Greetings. Yes, greetings indeed, fellow Zambians and all those that are listening in, that are tuned in. As Ambassador Mwamba said, apologies that the technology seemed to have failed us. But here we are using other gadgets and we hope we can be able to have a conversation today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So as you can hear, I think it will be clear. Let me just see, type in the comments quickly if that is working, if there's no echo, if you can hear the Reverend very, very clearly. That's how we broadcast. So he will be on the phone. You will see his video on the picture, but it's technical. The point is he will speak to the country. It doesn't matter how, but he will speak to the country. Let's not even go into details of the crisis that we are facing here, but it will work. So just tell me in the comments if you could hear Reverend when he spoke. I'll play a song, and when we come back, we go full throttle to the reason why this broadcast is taking place.
Amitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyoza kula kuivukisha Kana depotimo Wimbo wa temenu wa katongi Abazunga watita katongi na kula kuivukisha kateka Kaibuku muna kapona Nenseko siove pameso Yangwa umebaya Iyaba Iyaba ume Iyaba ume
Kateka wabantu twakulira lelo twakulira shika kukonke milimo shove
Ale filamba fiena minta pengosile Eti kume moku londolole abale lilo wingi
Iseko wingi mwakwete Isaso wingi mwakwete Mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
Katusi muchi motege Wali bomba kale Lomba mwatuja tulelilake
Benda Upanga mwine Oye mwine Ide lalila
Rev, welcome to the program once again. We are glad to host you despite these challenges. Just briefly, the country has missed you. You've been gone for a long time. Just tell us, from the moment you left CCZ as General Secretary to where you are now, just briefly talk to that.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much indeed for the opportunity to be here. And so after leaving the Council of Churches in Zambia, I went to work for the All Africa Conference of Churches I was based in Nairobi, Kenya, where I served as an executive staff at the head office there. And after a while, after leaving the All Africa Conference of Churches, I joined the Presbyterian University of East Africa, where I became senior lecturer and head of the theology department. From Kenya, the paths and the tapestry of God on my life brought me here to Canada, where we arrived in 2013 and started ministry as a local pastor in the Epworth congregation, which is in Newfoundland, or as the locals say, Newfoundland. And only after 2 years of serving that congregation, there was an opening at the head office, to which I applied, and I was appointed as a global program coordinator for Southern Africa and Southeast Asia partnerships. And after a while serving in that role, 4 years ago, I was appointed now to head the entire unit as executive minister for the church in mission. So there are many things that we do, and one of them is that I supervise all the global partnership work, which the church is doing in 27 different countries in the global south of the world. And that's where we are currently.
Oh, wonderful, Bishop. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's get to the country. The country will be hosting elections, historical elections in 2026, August 2026. There have been political tensions, accusations of human rights abuse, an economic meltdown. You are in touch with our country. Just give us a reflection from your perspective, the state of our country.
It is unfortunate that we are at this stage in our country because our current head of state had promised us a wonderful democratic dispensation where everyone will enjoy the freedoms and the rights of being a citizen in Zambia. And unfortunately, having gone back on some of those promises, it is a pity that the space for democratic expression is being shrinked in the country. And we are finding that a number of those things we should have enjoyed, especially around freedoms that would allow Zambians to genuinely be able to say, stand and sing of Zambia proud and free. Those freedoms are being clamped on. It is a sad situation that any opposing voices are being persecuted, that any opposing voices are being followed. And alas, if these voices are from the opposition political parties, they are not enjoying the freedoms as they should have been. Unfortunately, we are also seeing silence in some quarters of civil society, in some quarters of the church, the ones that are supposed to be in the forefront to fight for these rights somehow are shrinking back, and the country at the moment is filled with a sense of fear. Many people are afraid because certain rules are being put in place in order to clamp down on dissenting voices. I mean, the Cyber Crimes Act is one in case whereby, yes, we know there are criminal activities that have taken place online, but the same act is being used to put fear in people. I've been following your programs, and sometimes when people call in, they say anonymous. Anonymous. Why are they saying anonymous? It's because of this spirit of fear that has been put into our citizenry by the current political regime, which is very unfortunate indeed.
The nation will remember your wonderful work when you were CCZ General Secretary. I think you were, first of all, you formed what was called the Oasis Forum. These were you, the church mother bodies, came together with the Law Association of Zambia, NGOCC and others, and banded around for one common cause at a time. I think a good governance issue. There were attempts to amend the constitution to allow for a third term. And there are times when governments appear so arrogant that they can change everything. And there was some sense of arrogance. And it took you collectively to rescue the country. The third term debate was abandoned. How difficult was that challenge? How can such a challenge be replicated now? Because there have been attempts again in our country to amend the constitution in a manner that we've never heard of. Lucky enough, the Constitutional Court just stopped it. There have been attempts to introduce, other than the bad laws, more new laws on issues of land, on issues of, on many other issues. Recently, there was a defeat of Bill 7 and Bill 13. What did you do then? Maybe speak to us what you did in 2001 and going forward, and what Zambia can learn now, and what your colleagues back home probably could pick the lessons. They don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Well, as you rightly said, that we had institutional collaboration when we came together in a loose alliance named Oasis Forum. And for the sake of those that may be younger and wondering why Oasis, it is because that is the venue. It was an Oasis restaurant, the venue where the first meeting was held. The organization did come together, and I know that the forum to some extent somehow does exist. But let me speak about history. When we came together, we were clear about the objective, and we found solidarity in connectivity. We were very clear about that which we wanted, which was to ask those that were governing us to govern us better. And we say the Constitution is a sacred document that should not be manipulated by those in power. When crafting, when creating, when writing a constitution, it should indeed be, as the Constitution itself says, we the people. And so we came together. It was not easy at all because we continued to be accused. We were being accused as people who were not elected. We were being accused as being funded by other powers to do such things. And many other things would be said against us, but we've surged on. We continued on to try as much as we could by coming up with what we called a roadmap to a people-driven constitutional process. And that roadmap, we had conversations about it, creating awareness in the citizenry, but also talking to politicians and even talking to the head of state. And I know that at one time he took the same roadmap we had presented to him. May he so rest in peace, President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. He took the same roadmap, just changed one thing. Where we had called for a people's assembly, it was still under the process of a white paper, a process that would allow that cabinet at the end of the day would have its authority in terms of choosing what to be picked from. So organization was key for us. Connectivity was key for us, and making sure we were clear about our goals. The goals were not selfish. Even when we got accused that we were just politicians hiding in the church, we were politicians hiding in the pulpit, and we needed to just come out so that we would be whacked squarely. Even when those accusations were there, we were clear about the intention, about the objective of that which we needed. I don't think that it may be replicated. We need new energies in Zambia that will mobilize, particularly in demanding accountability from those that govern us. We may need new voices to come on the scene. We may need new organizations to come on the scene because times and seasons do change. We may need other voices to come so that together there is collective understanding of the Zambia we want, collective understanding of how we want to be governed, under which rules do we want to be governed, so that at the end of the day, all the Zambians can have a taste of abundant life. Because for me, as a clergyman, as a church person, that is the inspiration. The promise of abundant life should start here on earth. And it starts by having a political system that allows everyone to be truly free and genuinely free as they are being governed.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend. Thank you very much. When Oasis achieved what it achieved, did you at any time, especially after waging the war you waged, think at any time that will go back to the issues of attempting to do a new constitution without consensus of stakeholders and the people? Did you think that when you fought the corruption that you were fighting against government, then that will be back to the issues of corruption? Did you even think that we'll have this debate? Because we appear to have come full circle.
Ambassador Mwamba, it is a disappointment. Very, very serious disappointment. I thought that by now we would be discussing which road network will connect which province and which province. I thought that by now the country will be discussing how best to manage conflict, because that is the value, that is the importance of politics. Politics is about how to manage conflict. It's about organizing power and authority. It is about distribution of resources in a country. Indeed, it is about representing citizens. I thought that by now we would be saying hunger is a thing of the past in Zambia. I thought that by now we would be saying ignorance is a thing of the past in Zambia. I thought that by now we would be saying that diseases can go to hospitals and access medication, access health. I thought by now we would be debating which will be the next developmental project. And we will be having those. And alas, alas, the people we trusted have let us down. They have disappointed us. There's no need to have backslidden and gone back to now wanting to make rules behind the backs of the people, wanting to do things in secrecy, or even when you bring them out without proper and sufficient consultation. Oh, come on. We are wasting our energies. People are dying of the basic essential things that we require to be putting energies on. It is about electricity. It is about food on the table. When you promise people, unga tizabweza, bwezani unga. Instead of saying, let us change the land laws and give power to one officer, deal with the things that matter for the country. So I never thought in my mind, in fact, I'm one of those who has been greatly disillusioned and disappointed by the current political class, those that we elected, those that we trusted. We thought they will do better so that we will be saying, Jala yasira mzigo, that we will be saying, Malaiti ya bwera, that we will be saying, tikaenda kuchipatala, mankwala yaliko. We will find medicine when we go to hospitals. Unfortunately, they are taking us in circles, which is a pity,
This inevitably brings me to the role of the many voices when something goes wrong in the country. For example, the attack on the Patriotic Front, where the state was determined to take over an opposition, the largest opposition party, and put its stooges. I remember Nixon here in the United States was impeached for merely breaking into an opposition office using state agents. That is how sacred the opposition is deemed. In our country, our people think maybe it's just an attack on the Patriotic Front. When you see the human rights abuses that have been tabulated by the U.S. country report, the 2022, 2023, 2024, you would say maybe it's historical, but there would be no justification for the Zambia police and other law enforcement agencies to do what they are doing. And these reports have been now replicated by the United Nations Human Rights Council, Human Rights Watch, and a reputable international human rights organization, Amnesty International. If you had heard the crisis and issues that President Hakainde Hichilema had gone through, decrying about human rights abuses, decrying about being mistreated as an opposition leader, you wouldn't think that that would happen under the table. The silence of the key stakeholders could be attributable to the cyber laws, but you faced similar threats when you stood up against a very strong government with very strong cadres across the country, and you rallied and spoke for the country. Why are we not seeing the same spirit? Is it a generation change? What are you attributing this to? Because you have a moment of reflection, especially that, like I said, it's deja vu. You've seen this before.
Indeed, it is deja vu and very, very unfortunate. We were promised that the times will change. There was a lot of hope at the beginning of this current regime. How they changed, nobody knows. I have a theory, I don't know, I'm yet to test this theory, that there are demons, and I mean demons, that attack politicians, so that before they go into power, they will tell us all the nice things that they will do. And when they get into power, these demons somehow overtake them because they totally become different human beings, and you wonder why. We do need a credible opposition for democracy to thrive. We do need a credible civil society movement or organizations in order for democracy to thrive. We also do need clear separation of powers. Clear. Not the current ones where the president is appointing everyone. We should be able to have institutions that are so independent that through a citizenry process, they would be appointing judges, or they would be appointing the Electoral Commission and others that are critical to ensuring that democracy thrives. Yes, it is a new generation. A lot of fear for some reason has entered. And I remember the words of President Michael Sata, may he so rest in peace, who sometimes when he met me, he would say, "Iwe mfana iwe, uoneka waleka kuchita manta manje. Manta, bantu wopunzila." He would always talk about the issue of fear And I think that is what is happening. And at the same time, we are also only looking to a few institutions and a few individuals to be voices. I would dare my fellow Zambians that we will need all to stand up and rise up and be counted for the sake of motherland. Let's begin with our members of parliament by summoning them and calling out the issues with the member of parliament in your area. If we can begin to mobilize, to educate, to inform, and raise awareness on critical issues in the country, I think those that we have elected to be our politicians can listen to the people's voices. If we expect a few individuals to do it on our behalf, we might also be disappointed. And for those that govern us, in case they do ever get to hear my voice, please be honest with people. Don't take the Zambians for granted. You were elected for a season, for a purpose. You do need to fulfill that purpose, so that people in the country can rejoice and celebrate a governance that allows thriving instead of a governance that focuses on fear and self-serving itself and perpetuating itself in power.
Thank you very much. Reverend, I'm glad that you've talked about the clear separation of powers that should take place. At the moment, there is a very strong fear that the current commission of the Electoral Commission of Zambia cannot take us to a free and fair elections. You know, if you see what has happened in West Africa, where there were, and God forbid, where there were military takeovers, all of them, most of them came after what was perceived as a genuine elections. Governments close their eyes to the concerns and they close their ears to the concerns of people about the role of an electoral commission that should be deemed to be independent, that should be deemed to be fair. Let me just play the concerns that I've gotten here from two people. Then I bring your views about the role of parliament and the fears that we have around ECZ. Can the current ECZ deliver a fresh elections? Let me play this.
ECZ, there is no reason why the PF is being stopped from participating in the by-elections. The by-election in Mfuwe and the other by-elections that were all over for councillors. The Secretary General is here, undisputed Secretary General. So his adoption certificate should be adhered to by the ECZ. But they refuse in their own wisdom. They don't want PF to participate. They want a competition without opponents, and then they celebrate that they are popular. They are lying to themselves. But events of the last 1 week have taught me something. You know, there's a saying in Latin, vox populi, vox Dei. Vox populi, vox Dei. It means the voice of the people is the voice of God, which is democracy. What is the voice of the people is when they are allowed to exercise their ballot. So who is stopping people to exercise their freedom to voice out a leader they want, be it a councillor or council chairperson or an MP? It's the ECZ. Who is the head of the ECZ? Madam Mwangara Zaromis. Do you think God is happy with her? I end there. Thank you, Mr. SG.
The ECZ today is a conduit of the ruling party because the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia is a non-party member of the UPND. That's a board that's supposed to be neutral. That is a board that's supposed to administer elections freely, fairly, and transparently in a country. That already is a dent on democracy. Because that woman, that chairperson, by virtue of her political alignment, might not pronounce her party leader and candidate a loser.
You wrote an article
Exactly.
just last week
Exactly.
that it is impossible for the ECZ to declare Hakainde Hichilema a loser if he loses elections.
It's because of what I'm saying. And it's happening for the very first time that a non-party member who wears party regalia can become a board chairperson, the top policy maker of a board that administers elections in Zambia.
Reverend, when you, from the history of Africa, when you interfere with the independence of the electoral process and the perceived fairness of any electoral commission, any independent electoral commission, it presents a very fertile ground for instability post-elections. There will be disputed elections, there could be demonstrations, and what we've seen in West Africa recently has not been favorable. Some candidates even won up to 94%, yet the people had rejected them. When you hear these concerns from stakeholders about independence of institutions, whether it's a human rights, whether it's a Zambia police, whether it's ECZ, these democratic institutions that are supposed to help hold the executive accountable, what are your feelings and what are your comments?
Politics exists to answer the questions of how people with different interests can live together under shared rules. It is shared rules. What that means for us is we want peaceful elections. Genuinely peaceful elections, not where people have been intimidated not to participate in the democratic dispensation. People can reach a certain level of anger and frustration when things are not free and fair. And so what I would urge civil society and opposition political parties in Zambia is right now, not to waste time. Why not go and camp at the ECZ and say we have the following demands? We want fairness in the issuance of national registration cards. We want fairness to ensure that there is continuous registration of voters. We want fairness to make sure that those that are occupying the offices that govern elections are fair arbitrators. Why not do it now? Why not begin now instead of waiting for a crisis? Instead of waiting for that time when we are nearing elections, and that's when they will tell us, no, there is no time. And they might even say, okay, why don't we postpone the elections so that we can deal with these complaints? Civil society, opposition political parties, get together, united now, because we want genuinely free and fair elections, and the arbitrators should be seen to be fair as well. And that can be done through mobilization. We should mobilize and not just share posts on social media, not just complain in the streets. Let's talk. It is our motherland. We do not have another Zambia. Let's talk. Be able to sit with these people and be able to issue our complaints and say, these things are not correct. Can we have shared rules that can govern us around the issue of politics? Because yes, as you have alluded to, people can get annoyed. They do get annoyed, and we have seen it. Not just getting annoyed, a frustration that leads to political disturbances in countries if there is no consensus, if there is no agreement on how the issue of elections are conducted and are done in a country. We have the time. The elections are 2026 now, before we get too far. Let us be able to go to that ECZ and begin to make those complaints and appeal that we can have fair and free rules under which the elections will be conducted.
I am privileged that you are from the church, and therefore most of the burden also, I'll put you to taste about it. The church, the state seems to be overreaching. First of all, with State House and the President making handsome donations to all major churches. He turns up at a Seventh-day Adventist and he coughs out 900,000 kwacha. He goes to a Catholic church at St. Canisius. He coughs out another huge amount and pledges to build, I think, a set of hostel. Just last week, he gave the UCZ similar amount, some in millions of kwacha. Our citizens are saying, are you silent because you are receiving these donations? To what extent do donations made by politicians, especially in the political season, begin to affect the voice of the church?
It's very possible that the voice of the church can be compromised, but again, like our late President Michael Sata said, that is taxpayers' money. Take it, don't chukubeba. When it is time for you to vote in a different manner. That is taxpayers' money. And yes, by the way, we received money even from President Frederick Chiluba, but that did not compromise the voice of the church. That did not compromise the voice of the church for us to stand up to President Chiluba when he wanted a third term and say no, even if he had given money to the church. That is taxpayers' money. It is meant for national development. We should not allow that when such gifts are given, our prophetic voice gets silenced. In that case, that money is like corruption. We are being bought into silence. It should not be the case. And that is a way in which, again, the church can be divided. You try and look at those who seem to have bigger numbers and you give them money so that maybe they will come and give you a vote when that time comes, and the others you don't give them money, and division among churches is sown there. So churches should maintain their integrity. As far as money is meant, if it is done for the development of the country, to help the poor, to help the sick, to bring education, to bring food, let's use that money, but it should not consume our conscience when there is something wrong happening. We should be able to raise our voice, because when it is taxpayers' money, it belongs to the country. It belongs to all of us. It is not just meant for a certain few privileged individuals. So the church must be very careful, that you do not allow those gifts that are given to become a means of silencing the prophetic voice, of silencing the voice that calls for justice and righteousness at all times to rule within the nation.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll be opening phone lines for our dear viewers. You can tune in and call in and ask Reverend. We're discussing the role of the church in these difficult times as we do. We race towards next year's elections when our country goes to elections. Reverend, what is your advice to the opposition? I know you've talked about government and what government should do. The opposition should help lead in this fight. It should not be a fight of civil society or trade unions. But the opposition appear very fragmented, pursuing their small political spaces, forgetting the larger good. Just what would be your advice?
Continue your divisions as opposition politicians at your own peril. We to disappoint in opposition political leaders. You know the game and how it goes. Once you are united, once you come together collectively, it should be possible to achieve your goals. And I think the politicians, the opposition politicians, do have a large stake, very large stake. There is no need for divisions amongst yourselves. We can't have 10 presidential candidates. You know how the story ends. You know how the story ends. If we have 10 presidential candidates, those that have resources currently and are running the machinery of the state might eventually win. And again, we will have another more 5 years of lamentations and complaints. We know what the problems are. And if you wanted, and I say carefully, if you wanted to change this current government, which all politicians want to do anyway, be united, be focused. This idea of this alliance and that alliance and that alliance, come quickly together. Provide the country with one flag bearer so that people can begin to rally behind that candidate and the machinery that can be put in place to have clear campaigns that can enable the objective to be reached. And so to our opposition politicians, my appeal is remain divided at your own peril.
Yeah. Reverend, national unity. We seem to have again seen the rise of unhealthy polarization, the practice of tribalism, the divisions that are beginning to emerge, and the fracture in the country. Speak to the issues of unity. You started in your opening remarks, with literally quoting our national anthem that calls us to be united and be one Zambia, one nation.
Again, I think it is important to recognize that we are blessed with diversity in Zambia, with 73 ethnic groups. Thanks be to God for this diversity. It should be celebrated. There should be nothing wrong for me being Ngoni with mixed Kunda blood in me. There should be nothing wrong for you to be a Bemba, to be a Tonga. All of us should be proud of our different ethnicities. But we must not use our ethnicity to oppress others, to suppress others, to victimize others. We should celebrate the diversity we have. It's a gift of God to us. And indeed, we should continue to celebrate that unity as a country. For those that govern, they even have a higher burden to show that they are truly for the entire Zambia. You can't be appointing officers who are just from your tribesmen and tribeswomen. You can't just be appointing people and be perceived to be sidelining other ethnic groups within Zambia. Those that govern, remember, politics is about sharing of resources equally as far as possible. And so when appointing, why not appoint the rainbow nation of Zambia with different ethnic groups all represented? I think as Zambians, we should deny to be divided. We should deny to be divided and pray for one Zambia, one nation spirit to continue. Just as the body of Christ says, it is many parts and yet we are one. We should be working for that unity at all costs. And please, politicians, stop dividing us. We know the real issues. The real issues, Ninjala, Malaiti, those are the real issues. Not beginning to divide us on tribal lines, on tribal grounds. It doesn't end well. We know in other countries where people have had negative ethnicity, where others are separated and discriminated against, it does not end well. My appeal to Zambia is let us all remain one, strong and free, so we can stand under our flag and be proud to be Zambians.
Wonderful, Reverend. I'll now just ask you to stand by and just listen to the calls that will be coming in, then I'll invite you to come and answer. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Zephania calling from Osaka. Good afternoon, Ambassador Mwamba. Good afternoon, Reverend. I know he's hearing. I want first and foremost to say thank you very much, Reverend, what you have elaborated. You have reminded us as Zambians that in 2011, there was a slogan says, "Don't Kubeba," and we must use this "Don't Kubeba." Moment, he's capable of doing anything so that they remain in power, because 2026, I'm saying 2026, Zambians, we must PND. They do or die. What they want is to make sure that they remain in power, whatever forces they are going to use. And our Reverend has guided, and this is an eye-opener to all church leaders, all meaningful Zambians, that we must stand to protect our country. As our constitution reminded us that we are supposed to defend this country without fear or favor. Now, I have just two questions, my Reverend. My first question is that Zambia faces economical hardships, shrinking democracy space, and political intolerance. What is the moral responsibility of the church in speaking truth to power without being labeled partisan? The next question is that historically, the church in Zambia played a key role in ending one-party rule and restoring democracy. Today, with the rising dictatorship tendencies, has the church lost the prophetic voice? And if so, how can it be reclaimed? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll just take a few calls, Reverend, so that we can hear to as many callers. This is your opportunity to call. Please call quickly. We give the Reverend an opportunity to answer. And again, I'd like to apologize that we started late, but we said the Reverend from Canada will speak to Zambia, and he is speaking to Zambia. So we've overcome the challenges. We apologize for starting late, but let's have found a lot of missed calls. Just call back. Maybe let me, okay, sorry that we're using this other line. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I think I'll use my local language member. I'll just hide my name for now.
Okay.
About opposition parties, I know what the Reverend was saying, that they need to come together, otherwise the UPND will take over the leadership again for the next 5 years. Then they'll continue to complain. I totally agree with him. Now, if these opposition parties are finding it difficult to pick one candidate, why can't they adopt the U.S. Kind of politics, whereby they can just come together and move from one province to another and allow people to vote a particular candidate? So the one candidate who is going to win election in all these provinces, then that person can be adopted as a candidate for the next elections. This thing of saying Hari Karava, who else is there, whoever is there, that they want to stand on their own, they want to win the election. Like the priest said, the government, the UPND, they've got the machinery in their hands, so they can do anything they want to do and win the elections.
Thank you very much. Let me pick other calls as well, my brother, quickly.
Okay,
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening. Good evening.
This is Essential Banda.
Honorable Sensho Banda, you are not at Kulamba.
Yes, please. No, I'm not. I didn't travel.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Reverend.
Yeah, he can hear you.
Okay. Firstly, allow me to underscore that by the wisdom of our forerunners, in 1991, they saw it fit that we are becoming a constitutional democracy as provided for by Article 1 of our Constitution. By extension, democracy is such that the power is vested in the hands of the people. And how that power is transitioned is through electioneering. And as such, ECZ is at the core, it's a thread to our democracy. It holds together our democracy. And as such, democracy is not just about elections. It's about having credible institutions. It's about having fair rules. It's about having equity in terms of participation and credibility of those running those institutions. And a lot of people.
Oh, just a minute. Just a minute. You got cut. You got cut.
Okay, so I was saying that therefore, democracy is not just about holding elections. It's about having fair rules, equity in terms of participation, and credibility of the institutions, as well as those charged with the responsibility to manage to manage the institution. A lot of stakeholders have echoed on the neutrality of the ECZ currently, and they've called that I think there is need to cure the issue of neutrality. As far as the ECZ is concerned, a lot of people, and myself, what is concerned is how neutral this decision will be in 2026, arising from the fact that some of the key members are actually non-members of the UPND, as it were. So I think there is a need to actually deal with this issue when there is still time, the way the Reverend has admonished us to say we need to actually take this thing to the table and agree, because
Thank
we need
you.
to resolve this issue. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
That was Honorable Sensho Banda, his former MP for, I think, Kasenengwa. Hello, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Make your contribution. Introduce yourself and make your contribution.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador Mwamba, for bringing Honorable Reverend Dr. Japhet Ndhlovu. Welcome to the program, Reverend Japhet Ndhlovu. And I'm so glad that you've spoken about a lot of things and your involvement in politics before you left Zambia. And I still feel you can encourage, organizations like the Oasis Forum, the church, to be involved in this process, to unite the opposition and come up with one credible candidate. Yeah, and I just want to make some few submissions. You spoke about how presidents change. When they are in opposition party, they say good things, and then when they go into state house, they do different things. And you mentioned something like demons, but I beg to disagree with you. I think it's a combination of maybe demons and greed, but I feel there are a few things that we need to do, and I'm happy that you mentioned that Zambians needs to be involved, because running a nation is a collaboration and a collective responsibility of all stakeholders, including the people. So the following are my submissions. I think there's too much power, because I, for one, worked with HH, and I the HH that is in State House is not the same HH I knew. So the following things is, I feel needs to be looked into. Whoever is going to become the next president is too much power of that president. 1991, we only changed the one party clause, and the president still has so much power. And that president appoints almost everybody, appoints the board, appoints the director general. In most countries, the president only appoints the chairman. And then the board appoints the director generals through a transparent and meritocratic process. This happens even in South Africa. And the other thing is, most presidents are captured. You remember in South Africa, Zuma was captured. Zambian presidents are captured. How do we resolve this? A lot of countries, the UK, South Africa, America, they regulate the funding of these political parties. Because he who pays the piper calls the tune. South Africa, there is a former Chief Justice is even agitating that after the Zuma capture of the Guptas, is even agitating that political parties should be funded. It might be very expensive, but it might help the nation from politicians making decisions like what is happening in our country. You cannot believe how the president interfered in Mopani. The only answer is he's been captured. And there is need also to have institutions that are inclusive politically and economically, and also we need institutions that have integrity, that are autonomous, and that are managed by people with integrity. And last but not the least, one of the ways we can devolve the powers of the president is to separate the state from the government. When you look at countries like Singapore, they've developed because they've separated the government and the state. I rest my case.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Patrick Schuster from the United Kingdom. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Your Excellency.
Good evening.
And I greet you all, our guests on the show today.
Thank you very much.
My first concern is we've always been talking about petitioning the ECZ on alignment of Chairperson Mwamba, who is a well-known UPND cadre and a member of UPND actively. We haven't done anything about it, and they are still talking like this. We haven't seen any of these opposition leaders to go to court and petition or seeking an interpretation of law by Constitution Court. The second thing that I want to put across is this. This is very, very, very sensitive issue that I've seen in some of these candidates that are contesting for presidential. We have very safe individuals that I've seen we should be very careful to associate with. These are the people that can come and sell their candidature at a final hour of election. You've seen the way they are preparing themselves. They are not even willing to unite. So let's observe as we are uniting for the fact of wanting to unite. Let's also observe and scrutinize who we are uniting with ourselves with.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you, my brother. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Your Excellency.
Good evening.
Mwamba.
Good evening.
Good evening, the Reverend.
Yeah, he can hear
It's
you.
quite an encouragement to hear from. Yes, sir. It's quite an encouragement to hear from the Reverend. I agree with what you are saying. I have a question for you, Reverend. What the ambassador is trying to elaborate here is that we have institutions in this country, okay? We call them legal institutions. We have the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, we've got the military, okay? We've got the police, we've got the bureaucrats. These are government experts. We've got a legal profession, which is LAS, and we've got the civil society organization. And then lastly, we've got the mother bodies, you, the church leaders. So all these institutions, of course, we've heard a narrative, but this time it's you who is the guest. What are you doing about it? When can you have a conversation with the president? You and all the church leaders. You just say, let's have a conversation with the president and address issues as they are. For sure, all these legal institutions, they require to speak, because once we have a strong institution base, then everything is going to be okay. Are we living in the days of King Nebuchadnezzar? Where are the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Where is Daniel? You are the church leaders. When are you going to stand and speak for the people? Otherwise, people are listening and people are watching. One thing is for sure, Honorable Mwamba, God is going to bless this country. And God will make sure He's going to bring you back home. And we'll celebrate your coming. I can assure you, everything that goes up must come down. May God bless you and may God bless the Zambian people. Everything's going to be okay.
Thank you very much. Let me take the last two calls just to allow Bishop to respond to, Reverend to respond to these questions that are arising from our callers. Let's just take two more calls. We're overwhelmed with calls, but let's take these two calls. And this one is not connecting. Challenges of network probably. Just a minute, Reverend. Just give me a minute just to. Okay, we are hosting Reverend Dr. Japhet Ndhlovu. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Ambassador, your colleague here, Kelvin Kapwindi from Australia.
Yes, Kelvin. Thank you very much. Make your contribution, my brother.
Yes, Ambassador, this contribution is coming back to you. Let me just reduce the volume on this thing because it will be giving feedback. Okay, I've got that volume down. Ambassador, Honorable Mwamba, you once laughed when I was talking to you. You know what is going on. Reverend Japhet Ndhlovu has expressed my same sentiments that I expressed, and you know that. No, my mother, Ambassador, you are someone that is so intelligent. This comment is on you. I'm sorry, my brother.
On me? I've got a guest. Speak to the guest at the issues.
He has expressed the exact same sentiments. And what he's expressing is what I've always felt.
What have you felt? Tell us.
What I've expressed is about the unity, and you know the brokenness inside, and this is what the Reverend is pleading to us, the opposition, because we are the opposition. We are a well-known opposition. But now you have the numbers, Bakalanda.
I
said, you know what is going on. Can you forget about these people that are just running circles around you? Don't tell you what is going to happen. Mwamba. And I'm sure everyone is waiting for you. My brother.
Okay, what a burden, my dear brother. I wish I had the powers that Australia is giving me, that I just said, I wish I had such powers. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador. I think I'll say anonymous for now.
Yes, anonymous.
Oh, great. This is so great to see Reverend Japhet Ndhlovu. He is a legend of democracy and advocacy in Zambia. I have a comment and then I also have a question. I'll try to be very, very quick. My comment is that the opposition needs a John the Baptist type of a leader in the interim who will lead the opposition alliance in the process of uniting the opposition and eventually finding the next president. You know, President Ndhlovu must do what he calls illegality. has continued to toy with the largest opposition party, effectively making him the enemy of democracy in this nation. And it is time to call him out. We have to call him out. The opposition should know that the strangulation of the Patriotic Front is in effect a strangulation of democracy. There is no other way. But unity in this regard is the answer. So you, Japhet Ndhlovu is a legend of advocacy, a legend of democracy. Why don't you fly down to Lusaka and come and give us guidance, in this regard? Now, let me get to the question quickly. And this has to do with former President Ndhlovu's funeral. What are the guiding sentiments, Reverend Ndhlovu, regarding the way that government sued the widow of the late former President Edgar Chagabungu in a foreign court on the day that the widow was supposed to bury her husband? And what are your guiding sentiments about that? Especially that the government and the UPND and their supporters have turned around to claim that it's the Lungu family that is delaying the burial, when in fact it's the government that the burial on the day that it was supposed to take place. The level of criticism, where the president is going around now and making it appear as if government is innocent. Can we invoke Exodus 22, verse 26 to 24 as God's promise to the widow? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Let me take the last caller and then I bring on Bishop or Reverend. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
It's Chufia, and please don't be deceived by the number. I'm in Zambia now.
Oh, wonderful, Bachilufia.
Yeah. Can I just say thank you to the Reverend Doctor? He has spoken about things that I have been speaking about. He spoke about appointment, and my God, what a man, brave. I hope because that is what is happening now. Appointments. The position of Inspector General is not supposed to be appointed, and he is absolutely right. You can't have somebody appointing Inspector General and they are going to be impartial. No, it won't happen. He spoke about donations. We have got a situation here, and Ambassador, please, I hope you are going to be patient with me. He has spoken about donations. The president going round making donations. No, the president shouldn't even be going round churches. It's not supposed to be the case. He goes to this church, he makes a donation. He goes to that church, he makes a donation. It's a no with me, and I am one person who has been opposed to this kind of mentality. Let's move on. Opposition. Ambassador Mwamba, there's a caller, I think before the last one you were speaking to, who was speaking about the opposition. I remember, and I think I will take you back 3-4 weeks, if I'm right, when you hosted the young man, Ndhlovu. And I was there telling you, he can't win elections. He can't be president. You opposed. You told me we can't write him off. No, the reality is he can't win. It's the same situation we've got with my young brother, Calabar. Calabar can't win. All he's going to do is divide votes. And trust me, we are just going to be where we are now. And another 5 years, Ambassador, we are in trouble. Trust me, get it from me. Another 5 years, we are in trouble.
Thank you, Bachilufia. Thank you, and greetings to Zambia. Zambia is good you are visiting. My objection to you saying that our guests that we bring, the political leaders, can't win, I object to that. I want you to depersonalize the politics. You don't know who will be our president. I think we should discuss a larger principle. If the opposition picked Ndhlovu as a candidate, he can win. It doesn't matter who they pick. There is our guest here, Professor Kasonzo, who keeps on saying that Nangwasale Nshonkonono ikawina. So it is to that extent. One is not to be personal. Number two is not to discount anyone. That has been my view, is that let's respect all the leaders and encourage amongst themselves to get one leader. Let me bring Reverend Dr. Japhet Ndhlovu. People are even saying you fly to Lusaka now. Others want me to name the presidential candidate. Of course, it will be unilateral. You'll be creating new dictators in us if you allowed us to make such unilateral decisions. Please answer from wherever. At least you've got a feel of what Zambians are saying.
Yes, let's start from Bachilufia. Yes, indeed, in terms of important leaders in institutions. I mean, we can get an example from other African countries. Think of Kenya. The Chief Justice is not appointed by the president. There's a judicial service commission that has got the power to appoint all the judges, and they interview candidates for the position of Chief Justice. And the best candidate is the one that is given the job, and the president simply attends the swearing-in ceremony. That gives independence to the judiciary. And that's why at one time, the judiciary was able to nullify a presidential election, because they're genuinely independent. And we hope that Zambia will come to that stage. The Inspector General of Police and the Electoral Commission, such kind of institutions should really be in independent arms. And yes, I think we need a system. Our opposition political leaders, if you are listening, please put a system. What is so difficult in allowing another level of democracy, where all those who are aspiring to be presidents, whether it's Ndhlovu or whoever, Kalamba, everyone, all those aspiring, they are put on the ballot paper, and we have elections in all the provinces. We've got the independent institutions and organs that can help us to run these institutions, or even the same ECZ. They can be used, I think, for such a purpose, so that the person who will be chosen will truly be representative of the entire country. That could be a wonderful thing. It's a dream. I hope you can talk about it, and it can be done. It is possible. It is possible. But also, while talking about that, I did mention demons, my brother, metaphorically. I mentioned demons as a metaphor of external forces and powers that seem to take control of our politicians, who pretend when they are in opposition, and when they come into power, they act differently. It is a metaphor. And these strong powers, yes, can be greed, yes, can be a lot of other things. And you nailed it by saying that too much power is concentrated in the presidency. I have been an advocate for devolving the powers of the presidency so that they are put into institutions. They are put into institutions so that we have a president who presides over, and not a president who has such powers of almost becoming a dictator. I think we should devolve that office at all costs. And I hear the complaints about the arms of government and the institutions. the need for us to speak to one another, but also to challenge the systems and speak to those that hold power. But Zephaniah did talk about the moral responsibility without being labeled partisan. By the way, Zephaniah, I am partisan, and most of us are partisan in that we side with the poor. Partisan on the side of the poor. Partisan on the side of the voiceless. Partisan on the side of those that are downtrodden and are being oppressed. But not partisan in the sense of supporting a given political party. I think there is a big challenge, and we as clergy must be very, very careful not to be seen to be supporting a particular political party, because that way we truly will diminish our prophetic voice in terms of speaking truth to power. So when voting, it is your secret, it's your private. But partisan for me, for the poor, yes, I will always raise my hands. For the downtrodden, when human rights issues are at stake, yes, I will be partisan. I will be on the side of promoting dignity for all those created in the image of God. Yes, the constitutional democracy is important, and the credible institutions, we've spoken about that. The neutrality of the ECZ has come up again. I want to say, let us not waste time. Already now, this September, October, November, let's find a date. Opposition, political leaders, civil society, to go and sit down with ECZ and say, these are our demands if we are to have a genuinely free and fair elections. Vachilufia, yes, we've talked about that. I think those are some of the things. Well, you may ask me to comment about the funeral of our former president. It's a pity, and of course we've been given guidance not to continue speculating about this. It's a pity of how we came to this stage. One thing is also systematic. Why should we have politics of retribution? That bothers me. Each former president seems to be persecuted by those that come into power, except a few, except Mwanawasa. It didn't happen to him, and maybe Wasata. It's not right, Zambians. Let's change the culture. Let's respect the holders of that office. Let's ensure that certain privileges are given to them. Look at the United States, for example. Obama will comment on the politics. They don't withdraw the bodyguards and the privileges that he has. And there must be a way in which we can reform our rules so that we respect those that hold that office. And sincerest condolences, as we said, to the Lungu family. Sincerest condolences to everyone affected, all of us as Zambians. And to have this situation we've never had before in the country, where the Zambians' remains are being adjudicated by a foreign court, it's such an embarrassment. I really wished that for now, I hope that they are genuinely talking to one another, and I hope that they will genuinely reach at agreeable parameters of how the remains of His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu could be brought back to Zambia and given a proper, dignified funeral. I hope that they are talking, and I hope that there will be parameters of agreement around there. I think those are the few things I can comment about in terms of what the callers were saying.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Ndhlovu. Let me invite you to give your last thoughts and your last remarks on this program. I've kept you so long, especially that we had that terrible glitch where we lost almost an hour. And I'm glad for your patience. You showed real patience. What could be your last remarks? What could be your advice to our country, to President Hakainde Hichilema, to the opposition, to the church, for the well-being of our country?
The Lord Jesus Christ said, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And I came that they might have abundant life. This abundant life, I believe, starts here on earth when we have proper politics that govern us well. And I appeal to those that are governing us that please, please maintain order and legitimacy in a manner of ensuring that the people of the land rejoice. The Bible says, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. These complaints that are going on, these frustrations that are going on, it is you, the people that are governing, who can bring them to a conclusion, who can bring them to an end. And fellow Zambians, let us remember that politics is about organizing power and authority. Politics is about managing conflict. It's about the distribution of resources. It is about how we are represented as citizens. It is also about how we shape our collective goals for national development, not for selfish interest of a given individual. So let us stand and remain united. Let us stand and remain united as a country, loving one another as fellow Zambians, and working for the common good of the country. And opposition leaders, please, please listen to the people as well. Have a national process that will give national legitimacy to whoever you will choose to be a flag bearer. Unity is critical. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and blessings upon our beloved motherland of Zambia.
Oh, wonderful and great. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues, countrymen, we're hosting Dr. Reverend Japhet Ndhlovu, a man of God based in the in Canada, not United States. Is a remarkable leader with a distinguished history for our country. We are privileged that he came, and, we had earlier issues, but I'm glad that he has spoken. I'm glad that we overcame the challenges, and we used unorthodox means, and I learned something. Instead of canceling the program, there's a trick we used today, and here we are. Reverend Japhet Ndhlovu spoke. So Dr. Japhet Ndhlovu was a General Secretary of the National Council of Churches in Zambia, and is a past synod moderator of the Reformed Church in Zambia. He was ordained as a minister of Word, Sacrament and Pastoral Care at a rural congregation at Mazimoyo in Eastern Province of Zambia in 1988. Since his ordination, Dr. Japhet Ndhlovu has served several congregations as a minister of the gospel, and also in several leadership and managerial portfolios. Some of them being, he was head of evaluation strategic unit at a Reformed Church in Zambia. He was General Secretary for the National Council of Churches in Zambia. He was the executive staff at the All Africa Conference of Churches in East Africa. He also was a senior lecturer at Presbyterian University in East Africa. He was head of theology department. He was director of quality assurance. He rose as Nairobi City Campus director. Now, he then took up opportunities in Canada. The church sent him to Canada, where he was a minister at Epworth Pastoral Church. He was also global regional coordinator for Southern Africa and Southern East Africa. Is currently serving as the executive minister for the Church in Mission unit at the United Church in Canada since 2021. Highly distinguished man of God, and his experience at the Oasis Forum, he took time to share with us, and all of us, reprimand us to action, to a call of action. He spoke in a very candid, direct manner. He didn't even mince his words. So thank you, Bishop. Thank you, Reverend, for your words. And tomorrow, we have a big one. Just watch the trailer for Monday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we have no guest. We, be in church and I've got some commitments. But we'll have a matter on Monday that we'll be discussing. Let me just play a few videos before we go out.
I'm also aware of the electricity problems that Zambia is facing. But despite the problems that we have with the supply of electricity in Zambia, you still supply us with electricity. Again, you would have said, we cannot sacrifice our power when we have shortage. But you still give us. Katima Mlilo town, where I come from here, is supplied with power from Zambia. When you have a power outage here, we also have power outage. But that's the brotherhood we are talking about, the neighborhood we're talking about. And we should only be grateful and continue to exist in this manner. You spoke also about the Ndhlovu corridor. I want to tell Your Honor that that corridor was developed during our time. I was Permanent Secretary of Works and Transport. And my counterpart here was Judge Sichinga, Dominic.
The power issue, I think, is huge here. And colleagues, we continue to share everything. The issue of power, SC, when you are in a country like mine, when we have passed through a lot of load shedding, people say, oh, so you see, they are selling power to Namibia. This is a town in Namibia, very close to Zambia. We are talking of one-stop border, for example. And if you have one town with blackout, then how do you do 24-hour? But this was an agreement, that is the only thing I would add, was an agreement that was signed in 2020 between Zambia and Namibia. And you don't give up or relegate such commitments. As you have seen, Zambia is a reliable friend to everybody that they work with. So we don't just say because the situation has come, when in fact there is no other solution on the other side. That's why we are also importing power, as the others are, getting a bit, just a bit of power from here. We will continue. Let's invest it together in the systems, like I said, in renewable sources of energy. Together we can develop and be interconnected and ensure that there is no disruption in our economic development, because power has so much on that.
ECZ, there is no reason why the PF is being stopped from participating in the by-elections. The by-election in Mfuwe and the other by-elections that were all over for councillors. The Secretary General is here, undisputed Secretary General. So his adoption certificate should be adhered to by the ECZ. But they refuse in their own wisdom. They don't want PF to participate. They want a competition without opponents, and then they celebrate that they are popular. They are lying to themselves. But events of the last 1 week have taught me something. There's a saying in Latin, vox populi, vox Dei. Vox populi, vox Dei. It means the voice of the people is the voice of God, which is democracy. What is the voice of the people is when they are allowed to exercise their ballot. So who is stopping people to exercise their freedom to voice out a leader they want, be it a councillor or council chairperson or an MP? It's the ECZ. Who is the head of the ECZ? Madam Wangara Zaromis. Do you think God is happy with her? I end there. Thank you, Mr. SG.
Reverend, I'm glad that you've talked about the clear separation of powers that should take place. At the moment, there is a very strong fear that the current commission of the Electoral Commission of Zambia cannot take us to a free and fair elections. If you see what has happened in West Africa, where there were and God forbid, where there were military takeovers, all of them, most of them came after what was perceived as a genuine elections. Governments closed their eyes to the concerns, and they closed their ears to the concerns of people about the role of an electoral commission that should be deemed to be independent, that should be deemed to be fair. Let me just play the concerns that I've gotten here from two people. Then I bring your views about the role of Parliament and the fears that we have around ECZ. Can the current ECZ deliver a fresh elections? Let me play this.
ECZ, there is no reason why the PF is being stopped from participating in the by-elections. The by-election in Mfuwe and the other by-elections that were all over for councillors. The Secretary General is here, undisputed Secretary General. So his adoption certificate should be adhered to by the ECZ. But they refuse in their own wisdom. They don't want PF to participate. They want a competition without opponents, and then they celebrate that they are popular. They are lying to themselves. But events of the last 1 week have taught me something. You know, there's a saying in Latin, vox populi, vox Dei. Vox populi, vox Dei. It means the voice of the people is the voice of God, which is democracy. What is the voice of the people is when they are allowed to exercise their ballot. So who is stopping people to exercise their freedom to voice out a leader they want, be it a councillor or council chairperson or an MP? It's the ECZ. Who is the head of the ECZ? Madam Wangara Zaromis. Do you think God is happy with her? I end there. Thank you, Mr. SG.
The ECZ today is a conduit of the ruling party, because the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia is a non-party member of the UPND. That's a board that's supposed to be neutral. That is a board that's supposed to administer elections freely, fairly, and transparently in a country. That already is a dent on democracy. Because that woman, that chairperson, by virtue of her political alignment, might not pronounce her party leader and candidate a loser.
You wrote an article just last week that it is impossible for the ECZ to declare Hakainde Hichilema a loser if he loses elections.
It's because of what I'm saying. And it's happening for the very first time that a non-party member who wears party regalia can become a board chairperson, the top policy maker of a board that administers elections in Zambia.
Reverend, when you, from the history of Africa, when you interfere with the independence of the electoral process and the perceived fairness of any electoral commission, any independent electoral commission, it presents a very fertile ground for instability post-elections. There will be disputed elections, there could be demonstrations, and what we've seen in West Africa recently has not been favorable. Some candidates even won up to 94%, yet the people had rejected them. When you hear these concerns from stakeholders about independence of institutions, whether it's a human rights, whether it's a Zambia police, whether it's ECZ, these democratic institutions that are supposed to help hold the executive accountable, what are your feelings and what are your comments?
Politics exists to answer the questions of how people with different interests can live together under shared rules. It is shared rules. What that means for us is we want peaceful elections. Genuinely peaceful elections, not where people have been intimidated not to participate in the democratic dispensation. People can reach a certain level of anger and frustration when things are not free and fair. And so what I would urge civil society and opposition political parties in Zambia is right now, not to waste time. Why not go and camp at the ECZ and say we have the following demands? We want
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba confronts the truth behind what may be Zambia's darkest environmental catastrophe, the collapse of the Copperbelt Dam that poisoned the lifeline of our nation, the Kafue River. From the Copperbelt through Central Province and into Lusaka, more than 7 million Zambians depend on this river for survival. Today, that very lifeline carries death. Who bears the blame? Did the government of the Republic of Zambia commit an act of treasonable negligence by failing to protect its people? Or did a Chinese mining giant unleash one of the most inhuman and catastrophic crimes in history? An act so reckless it could threaten a third of Zambia's population. The questions are grave. The answers may shake this nation to its core. EM verified. Monday night. Do not miss it. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba confronts the truth behind what may be Zambia's darkest environmental catastrophe, the collapse of the Copperbelt Dam that poisoned the lifeline of our nation, the Kafue River. From the Copperbelt through Central Province and into Lusaka, more than 7 million Zambians depend on this river for survival. Today, that very lifeline carries death. Who bears the blame? Did the government of the Republic of Zambia commit an act of treasonable negligence by failing to protect its people? Or did a Chinese mining giant unleash one of the most inhuman and catastrophic crimes in history? An act so reckless it could threaten a third of Zambia's population. The questions are grave. The answers may shake this nation to its core. EM verified. Monday night. Do not miss it.